The story begins in the harsh, sun-baked lands of the American Southwest, where danger lies not only in the land itself, but in the fragile tension between settlers and the Apache people. An Apache warrior named Takashi no Nun in his tribe, for his skill and fearlessness, is returning from a scouting mission when he is ambushed by a group of horse thieves. Though he fights fiercely, he is outnumbered, wounded, and close to death. Just when Takashi is about to be finished, a lone traveler named Calder happens to pass by. Despite knowing the risks of involving himself in tribal conflicts, Calder jumps in, driving off the attackers and dragging Takashi to safety. Calder tends to his wounds, expecting nothing in return. For him, saving a life is simply what a decent man should do. But for the Apache, this simple act carries enormous meaning. When Takashi brings Calder back to his village, he announces the words that set the entire story in motion. "You saved me. Now do it again. Stay, live with us." To Calder, it sounds like a strange demand. But within the Apache tribe, a life debt is sacred. If someone saves you, they are now tied to your fate. Calder is seen almost as a brother, someone who must now share in the tribe's dangers and responsibilities. The tribe elders expect him to contribute, learn their ways, and protect Takashi in return. For Calder, who has been wandering without purpose, this feels both uncomfortable and strangely grounding. This new bond creates immediate tension with Kaya, Takashi's wife. Kaya is a sharp-minded, capable woman who has survived hardships the outside world knows nothing about. She is protective of her husband, suspicious of outsiders, and deeply aware of how quickly alliances can turn into threats. To her, Calder's presence is not an honor, it is a risk. Calder, for his part, tries to adjust. He learns to understand Apache traditions, earns respect from some, and stares down hatred from others. Slowly, he realizes that the tribe isn't just giving him a place to stay. They are giving him a family, something he has lacked for years. The fragile peace is broken when rumors spread of a brewing war. Settlers have begun moving into Apache land, encouraged by businessmen who want to mine the copper-rich hills nearby. Small clashes escalate, burned fields, missing livestock, raids blamed on either side. The tribe prepares for open conflict. Calder discovers something shocking. The group who ambushed Takashi belonged to the mining company's hired guns. They were not simple thieves, they were scouting routes to invade Apache territory and eliminate resistance. Calder shares the truth with Takashi and Kaya, and though it proves his loyalty, it also confirms their worst fears. War is coming. The tribe's council is divided. Some want to flee deeper into the mountains, others want to fight. Kaya champions a cautious but firm approach, while Takashi argues that defending their land is a sacred duty. Calder becomes the outsider caught in the middle, trying to bridge two worlds that do not trust each other. As the danger grows, an unexpected alliance forms between Calder, Takashi, and Kaya. What began as suspicion becomes respect. Calder learns not only to fight alongside them, but to understand what they are protecting: home, family, legacy. In the final stretch, the three of them lead a strategic defense that exposes the mining company's conspiracy and halts the invasion. The tribe's survival depends on unity, and Calder, once a stranger, becomes an essential part of that unity. The story ends with Takashi's words echoing deeper than before. "You saved me, and you saved us all." The story opens in a desert landscape where a young woman named Lena Hartley is traveling alone, trying to escape a troubled past. She's smart, resourceful, and stubborn enough to survive on her own, but she is also tired of running. While crossing a narrow canyon, she spots an Apache scout named Nanten being hunted by U.S. soldiers. Nanten is injured, outnumbered, and moments away from being captured or killed. Lena has no obligation to help. Getting involved means risking her own life, but something inside her refuses to walk away. Using her quick thinking, she creates a noisy distraction that lures the soldiers away long enough for Nanten to escape. After the soldiers leave, she tends to his wounds and shares her food with him, treating him as she would anyone in need. Once he can stand again, she expects he'll simply thank her and go his way. Instead, Nanten tells her something she was never prepared for: "You saved my life. Now you belong to my household until my debt is paid." To Lena, this sounds ridiculous. She helped him out of simple humanity, not to gain a title or become part of someone's home. But for Nantan's tribe, the concept of life debt is ancient and sacred. If someone saves a warrior, they become part of his household until the debt is repaid through protection, guidance, or shared hardship. Lena tries to refuse, but refusing is not an option in his culture. Worse, her refusal is seen as the very life she saved. Nantan insists she come with him for her own safety, but she suspects deeper motives, eventually trapped between misunderstanding and danger. She follows him to his village. Her arrival is met with suspicion, especially from Tallulah, Nantan's wife. Tallulah is fierce, respected, and extremely loyal to her people. She sees Lena as both a potential threat and a possible rival. The idea that another woman is now part of her household, Evan, temporarily stirs jealousy and fear. Tallulah isn't harsh out of malice. She's protecting what she built through years of hardship. Lena, meanwhile, feels trapped between cultures. She doesn't want to belong to anyone. She struggles with the tribe's rules, trying to understand a world that feels foreign and unforgiving. But she also sees moments of kindness. Children who smile at her, elders who offer advice, and Nantan himself, who treats the life debt with genuine seriousness. Just when Lena begins to understand her place, everything shifts. A group of bounty hunters arrives in the region, searching for a woman matching Lena's description. They believe she holds information about a robbery she witnessed months earlier, information that could expose a major criminal network. Lena had been running from these men long before she met Nanta. Straight to the village, Nantan insists he must protect her, not because she is helpless, but because his life debt demands it. Tallulah wants to turn her away, fearing the entire tribe might suffer because of a stranger. Tension fractures the household, and Lena finally reveals the truth about her past. She didn't just help Nantan, she was running from killers herself. Tallulah's anger softens when she realizes Lena had no choice. With reluctance, she agrees to help, but only if Lena proves she can fight for the tribe to dot together. The three uncover a hidden connection. The same men hunting Lena are also cooperating, with corrupt soldiers planning to seize Apache land. Suddenly, Lena is no longer a burden. She becomes the missing link in exposing a larger threat. By the end, the uneasy triangle transforms into an unexpected unity. Tallulah respects Lena's courage. Nantan honors his debt through action, and Lena finds a sense of belonging she never expected. Her rescue of Nantan was accidental, but what comes after becomes her purpose. The story begins in the lonely, windswept deserts of the Southwest, where a quiet traveler named Elias Ward rides at night, trying to outrun memories he'd rather forget. One evening, as the moon hangs low and the desert turns silver, Elias sees something impossible: a warrior on horseback. Glowing faintly in the moonlight, battling a shadow-like creature with long claws and burning yellow eyes. This is Dakota, an Apache warrior who moves like the wind but flickers as if he's not entirely solid. Elias hesitates, sane man would, but when the creature lunges for Dakota's throat, instinct takes over. Elias fires his rifle, distracting the creature long enough for Dakota to strike a final blow. The shadow melts into the sand, leaving behind an unnatural chill. Elias approaches cautiously, unsure if he saved a man or a spirit. Dakota's voice is calm but heavy with sorrow when he says, "You saved me. Now, finish what you started. Help me break my curse." Elias doesn't understand at first, but Dakota's body flickers again, fading slightly before solidifying. He reveals the truth. He is bound between life and death, cursed to walk the desert. At night, many years ago, he broke a sacred oath trying to save the woman he loved, Donna, his wife. Bandits had attacked their village, and in desperation, Dakota turned to forbidden spiritual power to protect her. The ritual saved Yana's life, but twisted fate itself. Yana died later anyway, and Dakota was punished for disturbing the balance. He cannot fully die, nor fully live. Now, the creature Elias saw is one of many spiritual guardians hunting Dakota every night, trying to reclaim his soul. Dakota believes the curse can only be undone at a sacred site deep in Apache land, the echoing mesa, where spirits whisper through stone. But he cannot reach it alone. Every night, the creatures come, stronger than the last. He needs someone solid, someone alive, someone like Elias. Elias reluctantly agrees to travel with him. He's a good man, But he's also carrying guilt of his own. He once failed to protect his younger brother, and the memory haunts him. Helping Dakota feels like a chance at redemption. As they travel, Elias notices Dakota becomes weaker during the day and almost intangible at sunrise. At night, Dakota fights the creatures with desperate strength, but cannot kill them for good. Elias slowly realizes the truth. Dakota is dying a little more each night. Their time is running out. When they finally reach the echoing mesa, everything changes. The stone walls hum with an eerie energy, and shadows twist like living things. Inside a hidden cavern stands a circle of ancient carvings, the place where Dakota first attempted the forbidden ritual. Standing at the center is something Elias does not expect. Yana, or at least what remains of her. She is neither ghost nor human, bound to the place like a candle flame trapped in glass. Her voice is heartbreakingly gentle but laced with pain. She reveals the final twist. Dakota's curse doesn't come from breaking the oath. It comes from her. In her dying moments years ago, she begged the spirits to keep Dakota alive no matter the cost. It was her love, not his mistake, that sentenced him to this torment. Now, the curse can be broken only through a sacrifice. Dakota must let go of her, releasing her spirit forever. Or Elias must take Dakota's place, using his living heart. To anchor the ritual, Elias refuses the second option. Instinctively, he's not ready to die. But Dakota won't let another man pay his price. He chooses to free Yana, even though it means his own life will finally end. As he releases her spirit, Dakota's body dissolves into light. The creatures disappear, the air warms, and for the first time in decades, Dakota is at peace. Elias leaves. The mesa alone, changed forever. He came seeking escape, but finds purpose instead, carrying Dakota's story and the reminder that love, even when broken, can still save. The story begins on the vast frontier where cowboys, settlers, and Apache warriors all struggle to survive the changing world. Jace Walker, a drifting cowboy with more heart than direction, is riding across a canyon trail when he spots a group of U.S. cavalry soldiers escorting an Apache war chief in chains. The war chief, Chetan, is proud even in captivity, but he's outnumbered and beaten down. Jace quickly realizes something is wrong. The soldiers aren't heading to a fort. They're planning to execute Chetan quietly so no one will question their land grab. Jace doesn't know the chief personally, but he knows injustice when he sees it. Against his better judgment, he ambushes the soldiers, cuts down the captors one by one, and frees Chetan. Jace expects nothing more than a quick thank you before they part ways, but Chetan surprises him with a declaration spoken as calmly as if discussing the weather. "You saved my life. Now you share my blood. My home is yours and my war is yours." To Jace, this sounds like a polite exaggeration, but for the Apache, Chetan's words carry deep cultural weight. Saving a chief binds the savior to the chief's family, literally making him part of the household. Jace tries to decline, but refusing a war chief's life debt is seen as disrespect and dishonor. With no choice, he follows Chetan to the tribe's homeland. His arrival stirs immediate tension. Chetan's wife, Sani, is a sharp, respected woman known for her tactical mind and protective nature. She doesn't hate Jace, she simply sees the truth. An outsider in their home is a dangerous gamble. She challenges him, tests him, pushes him, but she's also fair. She knows the tribe is standing on a knife's edge, and one wrong move could bring destruction. Jace slowly learns the tribe's way of life, how they hunt, how they gather, how they make decisions through counsel rather than force. He begins to admire their discipline and loyalty. Chetan, despite his intimidating presence, treats Jace with brotherly respect. But peace is short-lived. The land around the tribe holds valuable copper deposits, and greedy businessmen want it. They've bribed soldiers, stirred anger between settlers and Apache, and created the illusion that Apache raids are increasing, when in fact the attacks are staged by hired men. JACD discovers the truth accidentally while scouting. The same group that had planned to kill Chetan is now pretending to be Apache warriors while attacking settler caravans. Their goal is simple: spark a war, wipe out the tribe, and take the land cleanly. JACE brings this information to Chetan and Sani. Chaitan is furious, not at Jace, but at the scheme threatening his people. Sani is skeptical at first, but once she sees the evidence, she becomes Jace's strongest ally. This sets the stage for a dangerous plan. The trio must gather proof, stop the staged attacks, and prevent the settlers from retaliating against the tribe. Together, they organize covert missions, set traps for the fake raiders, and bring undeniable evidence to neutral parties like local traders and sympathetic soldiers. During this journey, Jace becomes more than an unwanted outsider. He becomes family. He proves himself not through force, but through loyalty, humility, and courage. Sani's distrust slowly softens into respect. She sees that Jace does not want power, only justice. Chaitan begins to rely on him as though he were a second brother. The climax occurs when the mining company launches a final false flag attack meant to trigger a full-scale war. Jace, Sani, and Chaitan intercept the raid, expose the mercenaries, and prevent bloodshed at the last moment. By the end, Jace realizes he didn't just save Chaitan, he helped save an entire people from destruction, and the tribe, once cautious, now embraces him as one of their own. The story begins with a young healer named Myra, known across the frontier for her gentle hands and stubborn courage. She travels from settlement to settlement, helping whoever she can, settlers, wanderers, even tribes when they allow it. Though skilled, she carries a quiet sadness. She lost her parents to sickness years ago and has been alone ever since. One afternoon, while gathering herbs near the river, Myra finds an Apache warrior collapsed among the reeds. His name is Niall, a proud fighter badly wounded in a skirmish. His breathing is shallow, his skin burning with fever. Myra doesn't hesitate. She drags his heavy body under the shade of a cottonwood tree, cleans his wounds, and spends hours fighting to pull him back from the edge of death. After 2 days, Niall wakes and nothing is the same. When he sees Myra, he speaks words that leave her stunned. "You are the one. The prophecy said the healer who saves me becomes my promised bride." Myra thinks he's delirious, but Niall insists that an old tribal prophecy foretold a healer with hands of dawn who would save the warrior chosen to protect the tribe's future. Tradition says that if a warrior's life is saved in this sacred moment, the healer becomes bound to him as a life partner. Myra refuses immediately. She didn't save him for reward or marriage, she simply did what was right. But her refusal is misunderstood when Niall brings her to the tribe. They see her not as an outsider, but as a fulfillment of something greater. The person who reacts most strongly is Apache, Niall's actual wife, a strong, battle-hardened woman who earned her place through years of loyalty and sacrifice. Apache is torn between resentment and pride. She knows the prophecy. She knows the tribe believes destiny chose Myra, and part of her fears she might lose her husband to a woman who never even asked for this fate. Myra, equally overwhelmed, tries to explain she has no intention of replacing Apache, but the tribe's elders insist she must at least stay until they can interpret the prophecy fully. Meanwhile, a terrible drought grips the land. Crops are dying, animals are disappearing, and the tribe believes the spirits are punishing them for ignoring the prophecy for too long. This makes Myra's arrival feel even more complicated. As tension grows, the tribe begins to turn on itself. Some see Myra as a blessing sent to save them. Others fear she will divide the tribe or weaken Niall and Apache's leadership. Myra, trapped in the middle, wants nothing more than to help ease the suffering she sees around her. Apache watches her closely, but cannot deny that Myra's knowledge of herbs and healing is extraordinary. With the drought worsening, the tribe is forced to act. A sacred ceremony is needed, one that requires both a warrior chosen by prophecy and the healer who saved him. The problem is that Niall and Apache cannot complete the ritual alone. It requires Myra as well. This forces Myra, Apache, and Niall into an uneasy alliance. While preparing for the ritual, Myra and Apache start to understand each other. Apache realizes Myra never wanted a place of honor, she just wants people to live. Myra, in turn, learns Apache's strength comes from protecting the tribe at great personal cost. On the day of the ceremony, all three join forces. The ritual reveals the true meaning of the prophecy. The healer was never meant to replace the warrior's wife. She was meant to aid the tribe during their darkest time. When the ritual completes, rain finally falls across the land. The tribe survives not because one woman replaced another, but because all three stood together, and Mira, free of unwanted destiny, remains not as Niall's bride, but as the tribe's last healer and loyal friend. The story begins on a dusty frontier riverbank, where Corporal Ethan Hale, a young soldier with a troubled conscience, is stationed. He's never fully agreed with the brutal orders handed down by his commanders, especially those that target Apache families and warriors alike. One evening, he encounters a scene he cannot ignore: an Apache prisoner, beaten and tied to a wagon wheel, awaiting an accidental execution staged to look like escape. The prisoner's name is Dazin, a hardened Apache warrior with fierce eyes that refuse to show fear. Ethan sees the truth behind the orders. This man isn't being taken anywhere for trial. He's simply being removed. Ethan's sense of right and wrong finally outweighs his fear of punishment. In the dead of night, he cuts Dazin's ropes, leads him to the water's edge, and whispers, "Go. I won't stop you." He expects Dazin to vanish into the darkness and never return. But Mercy has a longer memory than Ethan realizes. Days later, Ethan is ambushed while on patrol, knocked unconscious, and dragged through the desert. He wakes in an Apache camp, surrounded by wary eyes and drawn bows. Standing over him is Dazin, alive, healed, and radiating strength once more. Dazin says quietly, almost respectfully, "You saved me. Now honor demands I repay." Ethan soon learns he hasn't been brought as a prisoner. Not exactly. According to the tribe's tradition, a man who spares a warrior's life must answer for the consequences. Ethan's fate is now tied to Dazan's household, meaning Dazan's wife, Naira, holds authority over him until the tribe decides how his life should be valued. Naira is a striking, steel-spined woman who has weathered her share of loss. She is respected as both healer and advisor, and she sees Ethan as a contradiction. A soldier responsible for her people's suffering, yet a man who showed rare compassion. Her judgment matters, and the tribe watches her closely to see whether she will choose mercy or retribution. Ethan struggles to understand their customs. He is not shackled, but he is not free. He is given water, food, and tasks. He sees the tribe not as savages, but as families trying to survive constant pressure from encroaching settlers and soldiers. Slowly, he begins to understand the world he once attacked without question. The turning point arrives when Naira reveals a truth that shakes Ethan. Years earlier, she rescued a wounded white soldier during a raid gone wrong, saving his life. Just as Ethan saved Dazin's, that soldier, however, returned later with a larger force, betraying the trust Naira had offered. Because of that betrayal, she lost her younger brother. This is why the tribe doubts mercy. This is why judgment weighs so heavily on all of them. Despite this painful past, Ethan's behavior is different. He helps tend to the wounded, repairs tools, and protects children during a dust storm. He doesn't try to escape or harm anyone. His actions soften the tribe's view, and slowly they begin to see he is not like the soldier Naira once saved. As tensions rise between the tribe and nearby settlers, fueled by corrupt officers looking for excuses to seize Apache land, Ethan uncovers intelligence that could prevent a massacre. Soldiers are planning a surprise attack, disguised as retaliation for a fake incident. Ethan faces a choice: return to his old regiment and keep quiet, or stand with the people who have shown him reluctant trust. He chooses to warn Dazin and Naira together. They expose the officers' plot, rally neighboring tribes, and prevent a bloody confrontation that would have cost countless lives. In the end, Naira delivers her judgment. Ethan is not executed. He is not imprisoned. He is released as a friend, free to walk away, but forever changed. Dazin's final words settle the debt between them. Mercy has a price. You paid it with courage. The story begins in a rocky stretch of desert where Elara Quinn, a traveling craftswoman, is journeying alone between trading posts. She's tough, practical, and used to surviving on her own. While navigating a narrow ravine, she hears frantic rustling and the sharp warning rattle of a snake. When she rounds the bend, she finds an Apache hunter named Kiona lying in the dirt, bitten by a rattlesnake and rapidly losing consciousness. Elara acts without hesitation. She cuts the wound, draws out venom, uses her herbal poultice, and does everything she knows to keep the man alive. After hours of tending to him, Kiona survives. When he wakes, weak but alive, he looks at her with intense gratitude and something deeper. Almost solemn, he places a mark on her wrist. A hand-drawn eagle with two outstretched wings. Alara assumes it's a symbol of thanks, nothing more. But she's wrong, Kiona tells her quietly. You saved my life. Now the eagle binds you to my clan. Before Alara can argue, Kiona explains the mark's meaning. Anyone who saves a hunter from death becomes tied to the clan until they complete 3 tribal trials tests of spirit, strength, and truth. Refusing is considered dishonoring the eagle, a sacred protector. Alara has stumbled into a bond she never sought. Reluctantly, she follows Kiona back to the village so the elders can decide her role. But the moment she arrives, she feels the weight of suspicious eyes. Her presence disrupts traditions the tribe holds deeply. Children hide behind their mothers. Men stare quietly. Women whisper. The hardest stare comes from Tala, Kiona's wife. Tala is a fierce, brilliantly skilled Apache warrior, sharp, loyal, and respected. She lost family to outsiders years ago, so Alara's sudden appearance feels like an omen. She doesn't trust. To Tala, a strange woman entering her household under sacred rules is not just uncomfortable, it's a direct threat to the balance she and Kiona have worked to build. Alara has no interest in replacing anyone or disrupting anything, but she quickly realizes her sincerity doesn't matter. Tribal custom demands she stay, the eagle mark demands she face the trials, and Tala, assigned as her reluctant mentor, is the only one who can prepare her. Their relationship begins as friction. Tala pushes Alara, relentlessly testing her patience, strength, and honesty. Alara, determined not to offend the tribe or break her unasked for bond, works hard to learn their ways and earn their respect. Slowly, Tala sees glimpses of truth. Alara is not rude, not manipulative, not weak, just trapped in the same situation. The first trial requires Alara to navigate the rugged cliffs alone and return with a feather from an eagle's nest. The second demands she stand before the council and speak with total truth, even truths painful to herself. The third trial is a test of spirit. She must remain calm and still inside a ceremonial lodge filled with intense heat and chanting, designed to reveal a person's deepest fears by the time she completes all trials. Tala sees her differently, not as a threat, but as someone with real heart. Respect grows between them. But before the eagle mark can be lifted, danger arrives. A group of bandits posing as Apache warriors attack a nearby settlement to stir up conflict and force the tribe into a war with settlers. Kiona is ambushed during a hunt, and the village's defenses are thin. Alara and Tala must act together, using Alara's tools and Tala's combat skill. They outsmart the bandits, rescue Kiona, and expose the false raiders before a full-scale war erupts. Their teamwork proves something deeper than tradition, trust built through hardship. When the trials end, Alara is free to go. But Tala clasps her wrist and says, "The eagle marked you, but you earned your place yourself." Alara leaves the tribe not as an outsider, but as someone who found unexpected belonging. The journey back to Apache's camp should have been simple, quiet, tense, maybe even hopeful. But the woman walking beside him changed everything. She was a contradiction. From the moment she stepped out of the shadows, calm yet scared, fragile yet carrying some deep, unbroken fire inside her. For a man like Apache, deadly, disciplined, and used to reading people, she was the kind of puzzle that annoyed him, because he couldn't quite solve it. She still hadn't told him her name. He didn't press. Apache wasn't a man who wasted breath or energy, but he sensed she wasn't being shy. She was hiding something. A name can be a weapon, a shield, or a confession, and she wasn't ready to hand him any of those yet. The trail stretched long and quiet, broken only by the crunch of leaves under their boots. Apache walked a step ahead, keeping his senses alive, listening for danger, scanning the tree line, always ready. She followed him closely, maybe too closely. As if the moment space grew between them, the world would swallow her whole again. Every so often, her eyes drifted to him. Not with romantic softness. This wasn't that story yet. Her look was more analytical, almost studying him. She kept noticing the way he moved, steady, controlled, never turning his back to open terrain. She noticed how he carried himself like someone who'd been forged in violence but not ruined by it. And quietly, she wondered why he came back for her. Apache didn't explain. In his world, actions were explanations. After an hour of walking, he finally asked the question that had been sitting on his tongue like a loaded rifle. "Who were those men to you?" She froze. He sensed it without even turning, felt the shift in her breathing, heard the panic catch in her throat. She wasn't ready. Maybe she never would be. So he let it go for now and continued walking, but his jaw tightened. He didn't like unknown dangers, especially ones that followed him home as they reached the canyon that led toward his camp. She finally spoke, not answering his question, but offering him something else. "I didn't expect you to come back," she said. Softly, Apache kept walking. "You asked," she almost laughed. A small, disbelieving sound. Men ask for help all the time. Most of them don't mean it. Apache stopped abruptly and turned to her. His expression wasn't angry or soft. It was clean, direct, the way he always spoke truth. "I don't do things halfway," he said. "If I leave someone behind, it's because they were already dead. You weren't." Those words hit her harder than anything that had happened in the cabin. She looked away quickly, blinking against the weight of emotion she didn't want him to see. She wasn't used to someone treating her like she mattered. Not anymore. As they approached the ridge overlooking the camp, Apache's men stepped forward with tense eyes, hands resting near weapons. They weren't used to him bringing strangers, especially not women. Apache raised one hand, and just like that, tension deflated. His men trusted him blindly. If he brought her, she must matter. But the woman felt all those eyes on her, judging, questioning, measuring. And suddenly she understood something. Coming with Apache wasn't just rescue. It was entrance into his world, a dangerous, disciplined, unforgiving place. She wasn't sure she belonged in it. Apache sensed her hesitation. Without looking at her, he said quietly, "No one will touch you here, not while you walk beside me." It was a promise. Simple, heavy, unbreakable. And for the first time since she fled the cabin, she felt the faintest flicker of safety. Not freedom, not peace, just safety. Sometimes that was enough to start again. Apache's camp wasn't a place for the weak. It wasn't built for comfort or beauty. It was built for survival. Rough tents, made from canvas and patched hide, formed a messy circle around a dying fire pit. Tools, weapons, ropes, and crates lay neatly organized, every item with a purpose. The mountain wind sliced through the air, carrying the scent of pine, smoke, and long-forgotten violence. The woman's first instinct was to shrink back. Everyone in the camp had the same look, scarred, alert, carved from harsh living. Men who'd followed Apache through storms and gunfire. Men who trusted only strength. And she could feel their suspicion burning into her skin as they watched her walk in beside him. Apache didn't introduce her. He wasn't the type. His presence alone told them everything they needed to know. She was under his protection. That was enough to make them step aside, but not enough to make them stop wondering. He led her toward a small tent near the far edge of the camp, a little removed from the others, but not isolated. When he stopped, she nearly bumped into him. She'd been walking as if afraid to lose his shadow. "This one's yours," he said. She stared at the tent. A piece of canvas, cloth walls. It didn't look like a sanctuary. It looked like something the wind could tear apart in seconds. Her fear flickered. She didn't even realize she was trembling until Apache noticed it locks from the inside. He added, reading her body like a map. "Nobody goes in without your," say, a broken breath escaped her. That was the first time in a long time she'd been offered control over anything. Apache stepped back, giving her space, but she didn't move. She kept looking at him, studying him the way she had on the trail. There was a question in her eyes. She couldn't shape into words. "Why here?" she finally whispered. "Why bring me to your camp? You could have left me anywhere." He didn't answer immediately. Apache wasn't a man who wasted explanations. He weighed his words before giving them. "You're not safe out there," he said simply. "At least here, I know who I'm watching." She felt the weight of those words, not possessive, but protective, a distinction she was not used to. Before she could respond, a man approached, broad-shouldered, with a scar running from cheek to chin. His voice was low, respectful, but firm. "Boss, you bring in trouble with her?" Apache's eyes snapped toward him, not angry, just sharp enough to cut steel. "She's not trouble," he said. "The trouble's behind her, and if it follows, we'll handle it." The man nodded and backed away, but the woman saw it. Apache's crew wasn't used to this kind of decision. He didn't bring outsiders. Ever she felt her throat tighten. "They don't want me here. They don't know you. That changes with time." She hesitated, gripping her arms. "And if they don't change," his gaze softened just barely like a stone warmed by sun, "then they'll answer to me." For the first time, she believed him. He turned to leave, but stopped halfway without facing her. "Get some rest. You look like you haven't slept in days." "I haven't," she admitted. He paused. The silence stretched long enough for the wind to fill it. "You will tonight," he said. There was certainty in his voice. Certainty she didn't understand, but desperately wanted to trust. When he finally walked away, the camp seemed less terrifying, less sharp. Apache's presence had a gravity to it. With him gone, she missed it more than she expected. She stepped into the tent. It was small, plain, but clean. A cot, a blanket, a lantern. Nothing luxurious, but everything she needed to feel human again. As she sank onto the cot, she realized something unsettling. She wasn't afraid of the camp. She was afraid of how safe he made her feel, because safety was the first step to hope, and hope was dangerous. But for the first time since the nightmare began, she let her eyes close, and she slept. The culmination of a journey that began with a heroic act, moved through personal trials, and concluded with the establishment of a new life. The phrase, "You saved me, now do it," suggests a scenario in which one character's intervention drastically altered the course of another's life. In this concluding part, the Apache, likely the central figure of the story, has completed a series of actions that not only affect his own fate, but also the lives of those around him. The narrative here focuses on the consequences of bravery, the shaping of identity through experience, and the transition from individual survival to relational responsibility. The first crucial element in Part 10 is the idea of resolution and transformation. The Apache, having presumably faced numerous challenges, physical, emotional, and moral, has reached a point where his actions have tangible outcomes. By doing it, which could refer to an act of courage, leadership, or a critical decision, he fulfills a role that had previously been defined by others' expectations or his own sense of duty. The phrase implies both an obligation and a recognition of agency. The Apache is no longer just reacting to circumstances. He is actively shaping the world around him. This moment underscores a theme common in heroic narratives. The hero's journey from passive participant to active shaper of destiny. Another layer in this part is the introduction of domesticity and partnership, signaled by "he had a wife." After a narrative likely dominated by conflict, survival, or social negotiation, the establishment of a family represents a profound shift. Marriage here symbolizes stability, continuity, and the human need for connection beyond survival. It is not merely a romantic outcome, but a social and personal milestone that signals integration into a broader community. This development emphasizes the Apache's transition from a life defined by action and survival to one shaped by relationships, care, and the responsibilities that come with them. Part 10 also reflects the theme of legacy and impact. By this stage in the story, the Apache's actions carry meaning beyond the immediate moment. The presence of a spouse suggests the potential for offspring, shared community life, and the continuation of values and skills. In literary terms, it's a way to demonstrate that heroism and moral choices are not isolated. They ripple outward, influencing society and future generations. The narrative implies that acts of courage or integrity, though often undertaken in isolation, ultimately lead to communal recognition and personal fulfillment. Emotionally, this part deals with resolution and emotional closure. Earlier tensions, dangers, or conflicts are now resolved, allowing the character and the audience to reflect on the journey. There is satisfaction in witnessing the protagonist achieve both external success and internal peace. This dual resolution, completion of a heroic act and the formation of a stable personal life, reinforces the story's moral and emotional architecture. It suggests that heroism is not only about the extraordinary deeds, but also about the ability to create meaningful connections and sustain a life beyond them. Finally, Part 10 can be interpreted as a meditation on identity and continuity. The Apache's journey is now integrated: the self that acted courageously, the self that formed bonds, and the self that inhabits a new social and emotional role are unified. The story closes by showing that heroism is inseparable from human experience, community, and relational responsibility. The title itself, juxtaposing the act of saving with domestic life, underscores that one's legacy is measured both in deeds and in the lives one touches personally. In summary, Part 10 serves as a satisfying narrative closure that highlights transformation, the transition from action to relational fulfillment, and the lasting impact of personal courage. By ending with the Apache having a wife, the story emphasizes continuity, human connection, and the enduring consequences of bravery.